So guys, yes. Kanu is finally getting the justification he deserves. The international community, the international society have just vindicated Nnamdi Kanu, and their latest reports is a message that Tinubu has to release Nnamdi Kanu within some hours, because their message is clear. Kanu is innocent. Their message is clear. Kanu has no case to answer, and their message is clear. Nigeria violated Nnamdi Kanu's fundamental human rights. In today's session, I'll be displaying a video for you. In fact, there is a video clip I'll be displaying here for you guys to watch, to also see that Omotosho made some judgmental errors on the day of the judgments, to clearly see that Omotosho took bribe in order to illegally sentence Nnamdi Kanu to life imprisonment, because in the first place, Omotosho had no jurisdiction to try Nnamdi Kanu, let alone convicting him and sentencing him unlawfully to life imprisonment. In today's session, I'll also be showing you every details of how the international society have just vindicated Nnamdi Kanu, and their message is clear that Nnamdi Kanu has to be released within some hours, because Nnamdi Kanu have committed no crime. Wherever you are, wherever you're listening to me from, I will urge you to share this video, because this is one of the best news we have in this very year 2026, and this news goes a long way to show that Nnamdi Kanu is innocent and that Nnamdi Kanu had no case to answer in the first place. Before showing you what the international society have just said, before showing you the full details surrounding what the international society have just said about Nnamdi Kanu, there's a video clip I'll display here for you guys to see, so that you also see the impunity surrounding Justice James Omotosho of the Federal High Courts.
And under the principle of fair, sections 35 and 36.
Absolutely. And there is nothing like retrogressive action in law when it comes to criminal action. Yeah. We are not a military regime.
What eventually happened in the Court of Justice Omotosho, could it have been avoided if the matter was handled differently?
Well, I do not know why he debriefed those lawyers. I also do not know why he decided to defend himself. But what is those are now in the realm of history, or in the realm of the past. What now bothers many Nigerians was what happened on November 20th, the day he was sentenced, and the day he was convicted and eventually sentenced. And the whole issue surrounding the trial, the whole issue surrounding the conviction and the sentencing, the attitude of the court itself, whether the court followed the law or whether the court followed personal opinion of the jurists, or whether the court, in some people's opinion, acted on a script to ensure that Nnamdi Kanu is taken off the streets, in a manner of speaking. Whether Nnamdi Kanu defended himself or not, what to many people is more critical and more important is the attitude of the judge and the justice of the matter. Don't forget that in criminal adjudication, one can only be convicted when there is preponderance of evidence, one, two, and when the prosecution is able to prove the case beyond all reasonable doubt. We are not saying all iota of doubt, but at least all reasonable doubt. And that justice must not only be done, but to be seen, manifestly be seen as having been done. The generality of the public of Nigeria, and even the international community, do not believe that the justice was done in Nnamdi Kanu's case. Don't forget that the issue of treason is a political decision by the state, because treason is an offense against the state. It has been brought to become an offense against humanity, and that is why there is an international convention against treason, and it was to be able to bring it to the level of to align Nigeria's act with that of the rest of the world, following the UN convention, that brought to the repeal of Nigeria's 2011-2012 terrorism prevention Act, and reenacted in 2022 with implementation in 2023 of Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act. Now, the whole issue about Nnamdi Kanu's matter bears a lot of question and defeats a lot of logic, because a lot of people, even Nnamdi Kanu himself, had continued to say it, even rambunctiously in court, that they should show him the law with which he's being tried. Because by the time many people didn't understand, because all the people who were not privy to the charges and people who were not privy to the goings on in court were at a loss as to why would a man be charged for an offense that is not known to law in a criminal trial. Because a Nigerian statute book says that one cannot be tried for a law of an offense not codified and known to law.
Under the principle of fair
hearing.
Sections 35 and 36.
Absolutely. And there is nothing like retrogressive action in law when it comes to criminal action. Yeah. We are not a military regime. Now...
No, but Nnamdi Kanu was charged under the old law.
Under the old law.
Terrorism.
He was charged under the 2020...
No, not under 2022. Under the older law of 2011.
2013
yeah.
or 2022, 2013. That was repealed.
The old law.
The old law that was repealed in 2022.
Yeah, but so, the new law will not take effect. That's why Chief Awomolo SAN is saying that the punishment is death penalty. He was quoting the old law, and that the accused person was charged under the old law.
The accused person was charged under the old law. Don't forget that charge under the old law got extinguished in October 2022. But
the law, you yourself just said it, cannot have retroactive effect.
We cannot have retroactive effect.
Those are issues they will resolve at the level of appeal.
No. There's one major issue that is even on the open. Okay. Because in the first instance, don't forget that Nnamdi Kanu had earlier been acquitted by the Federal High Court before federal government went to Court of Appeal. And every moment an accused is acquitted, discharged and acquitted, he goes home from the court. He can only go back to the prison or to wherever he was detained to collect his personal items. If he doesn't want, he can abandon them there. If he doesn't want, he can go from there to his house. If he doesn't want, because at the end of the day, the federal government refused to release him. So at that point of that discharge and acquittal in October of 2022, the court became functus officio. So you can no longer hold on that old law. But by the time you saw the judgment from the Constitutional Court, it was referring to the 2013 charge. So that became a very, very strong issue against that judgment and against the entire procedure. Okay. There are so many other issues which time may not allow us to explain.
These are issues that can be worked out when the matter goes to the Court of Appeal. Aloy Ejimako has already said they will go on appeal. Yes, and that by Monday, tomorrow, they are going to file...
He has a whole 90 days. We think we to do so.
However,
so you
can
do that
to notice that Justice Omotosho even said, he was tampering justice with mercy. He was not applying the full teeth of the law. However, what do you think is the way forward? And don't you think that the matter was even complicated by the conduct of the accused person who discharged his own counsel? I mentioned the very senior lawyers who know the territory. Now, in this same case, what's his name now? Ozekome, SAN, was involved. Kanu Agabi, SAN. Paul Erokoro, SAN. Ikpeazu, SAN. These are people who know the law, the in and out of it, who could have provided a different kind of pathway and who could have handled the matter. But where the accused person abusing the presiding judge, and you said, the presiding judge is a problem. What do you expect his lordship to have done in a situation whereby the accused person took over the proceedings of the court and questioned his integrity, questioned his... So what the judge did eventually in the 144-page judgment that I have seen is that he just applied the law. Simply.
Dr. Abati, you may say so, the judge may claim so, but the judge committed what majority of the people describe as a travesty of justice, and I tell you why.
Don't quote mob opinion.
It's not a mob opinion because there are the facts are there. The judge jumped into the arena. The judge even usurped the office of the executive.
How?
I'll tell you why. It does not lie in the purview of the court to decide where a convict will be kept.
So guys, straight to what the international society have just said about Nnamdi Kanu, and I read the news in details. IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu named major victim of Trado-Judeo Christian self-defense in 2025 as evidence mounts against Nigerian state lawlessness. Let's be reading out the news in details. In what has emerged as a damning verdict on the state of law, justice and constitutionalism in Nigeria, the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, has officially been designated major victim of Trado-Judeo Christian self-defense in Nigeria in 2025. The designation made by the International Society for Civil Liberties and Rule of Law, in brackets, Inter-Society, sits at the heart of a broader body of collected evidence indicting Nigerian authorities for entrenched lawlessness, selective justice, and the violent repression of citizens who dared to stand up for themselves. This declaration is symbolic as Mazi Nnamdi Kanu represents the aspiration of Nigerians and state injustice against citizens who dare to defend themselves against the ongoing Christian genocide. It is a forensic conclusion drawn from years of documented abuses, systematic constitutional breaches, and the deliberate elevation of brute force over the rule of law by successive Nigerian governments since June 2015. At the center of this unfolding narrative is Nnamdi Kanu, whose extraordinary rendition, prolonged detention, and continued persecution in defiance of multiple court orders have become the clearest illustration of Nigeria's descent into executive lawlessness. In Kanu's case, the Nigerian states did not merely bend the law, it pulverized it. You can imagine, the international society are now saying that in Kanu's case, Nigerian society did not only bend the law, they pulverized it. You can imagine what Nigeria stands for in the international world. You can imagine what Nigeria stands for before the entire world. Nigeria, I'm sorry to say this, Nigerian judicial is a disgrace to the world. At this very point in time, I'm sorry to say this, Nigeria's judiciary is shambolic. Because how can you try Nnamdi Kanu under a law that does not exist? And now the international society are saying, look, Nigeria did not merely bend the law. Nigeria pulverized it. Nigeria pulverized the law. They turned over the law. You can imagine what the international society are saying about this. And they have frowned at the detention of Nnamdi Kanu because Nnamdi Kanu in truth is innocent. They have looked at all documented evidences and they have drawn to conclusion that Kanu is innocent. That the Nigerian judiciary did not only bend the law, they pulverized the law. They turned over the law. They took matters into their own hands. They ignored the court in Nigeria. Because in 2022, the appeal court stated that Nnamdi Kanu is innocent. The appeal court acquitted Nnamdi Kanu. But Omotosho in 2025 came out to court, took matters into his own hands, ignored previous judgments, convicted Nnamdi Kanu illegally, and sentenced him unlawfully to life imprisonment. And the international society have frowned on this. They have said, look, we won't accept this. We won't stand by injustice, and we won't let this to happen. Well, let's wrap up what the international society said. Kanu's designation as a major victim is therefore an indictment of a state that punishes resistance to extermination while tacitly enabling its architects. You can imagine what the international society have said. They have frowned at the illegal detention of Nnamdi Kanu and they have said, look, the Nigerian state is shambolic. They have said, look, this is a disgrace upon Nigerian states that Nnamdi Kanu has to be released. Well, at this point in time, I'll urge you to share this message across to the world. I'll urge you to enlighten others about this very video as you are watching it, because other people have to see this video. Other people have to know what actually happened on the 20th of November, and the world needs to see this message and look and see what the international society have just said about Nnamdi Kanu, because Nnamdi Kanu's release might just be incoming.